There really is something to be said about how remarkably well this generation of Range Rover, and here in particular Range Rover Sport, have aged. It is of course a facelift generation of the L320 era, in other words a 2011 Range Rover Sport in HSE Commandshift form with the 3-litre TDV6 engine. In other words, a turbo diesel V6 with 240 horsepower, 440 foot-pounds of torque. That's up around 600 newtons of pulling power. In other words, you're not going to find a caravan that this can't pull, but it also of course means significantly better fuel economy than you would think of in a 4x4 platform, certainly a luxury 4x4 at that, up around 30 miles per gallon of average economy, around 35 on the motorway, which is not bad at all, and certainly not for a 2011 example, which is of course, you could argue possibly the most iconic Range Rover Sport shape of them all. One of the reasons why we love these Range Rover Sports in particular is in a very similar way actually to the Jaguar XJ of a similar time period, and certainly just before these as well in the case of Jaguars. These are such ergonomically satisfying cars to be around. Everything from the push and feel of the buttons, the chunky kind of feel of all of the doors closing and comfortable seats, chunky steering wheel, everything feels like it has that weight, that quality, the kind of longevity which you would want from a luxury car, and which, let's be frank, these days, even in luxury cars, they don't quite feel like that anymore. They feel decidedly more, well, breakable in many cases. To go back to value for money though, these alongside full-size Range Rovers were the premier British luxury 4x4, up around 60+ thousand pound cars back in 2011. Now, this is under £7,000. Even then, still of course has the option of low deposit financing to spread out that cost, and in fact, this vehicle came to us from an enthusiast to us also as enthusiasts as a part exchange against one of our other Range Rovers in fact. So we're keeping it in the family both figuratively and literally, because this car has a full main agent and a documented specialist service history to its name, invoices for previous maintenance and upkeep, including a new cam belt and water pump. It's the definition of a beloved example, and crucially, it backs up what we've said many times in terms of, especially in the case of an L320 era, a car which has already proven itself. This Range Rover Sport has just kissed 119,000 miles, and even though unfortunately these days it's become the case that that sounds like a lot of miles for a modern vehicle, it really isn't. In fact, to put that into perspective, that's within 10,000 miles or so of the average even for one of these cars. In other words, these are known for that kind of long distance use which they are designed for and which time has crucially proven they're good for as well. Certainly in the case of a beloved example like this one, which of course helps out immeasurably, in particular with that service history to back it up as well. Now, being finished in Santorini black, arguably one of the best colours for these in the first place, with that heated ivory and contrasting stitching on the inside, lovely cherry light wood veneers. Of course, it has privacy glass, built-in hybrid TV. Its previous owner, incidentally, has had this vehicle for 9 years, so clearly they have absolutely loved it. It is, as you can tell, towing prepped as well. It has that 8-speaker Harman Kardon sound system, built-in cruise control, surround camera assists, bi-xenon headlights, and again, when you combine that all with a roughly 30 to 35 mile per gallon engine, well, not only is that a lot better than you would think this era of Range Rover could be, and it's certainly a lot more economical than these look, with a kind of weight, road presence and panache which you would want from this kind of vehicle, but again, for under £7,000, well, you really can't argue with that amount of vehicle for the money, certainly not in this kind of condition, and with arguably one of the most perfect visual specs for one of these as well. So of course, if you've already been looking for one of these and this particular HSE catches your eye, of course you could reach out via the email address shown right here on screen, or give us a call on 01749 871155 or via our mobile number of 07482 267 439.